Eileen, perfect, okay.
All right, good evening. This is the regular monthly meeting of the Norwalk Parking Authority. As Vice Chair of the Parking Authority, I'm going to start the meeting now. It's 6:02. The first item on the agenda is public comment. Are there any individuals looking to speak this evening?
There are not. Oh, wait, hold on. Mr. Reagan, if you'd like to speak, can you please raise your hand electronically? Okay, Mr. Reagan.
Mr. Reagan, you are muted, but we'll recognize you for 3 minutes.
He may have some audio problems, but Paul's actually with Laz, and he was sitting in to listen to me.
Okay. Stati, if you're okay, then we'll move on if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine. If Paul gets his thing going, he can always text me.
Okay. All right.
Matt, do you want me to share the agenda on the screen?
If you could, please.
Sure, give me 1 second. Can you see that?
I can.
Okay.
And Paul, I see that you've gone back on mute. Were you able to connect to audio?
Yes, good evening. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, sir.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm just a additional resource with Laz Parking. Pleasure to meet everyone.
Nice to meet you, Paul. Thanks very much. So our first action, there being no other public participants.
There are not.
Okay, excellent. So we'll move on to the discussion and action related to minutes from our meeting on our regular scheduled monthly meeting on Wednesday, the 25th of January. Are there any additions, omissions, or comments to the minutes that have been circulated? Hearing none, as Vice Chair, I'll accept the minutes as submitted. And move on to, are there any additions, omissions, or comments related to the minutes from our special meeting on February the 7th, 2023? Hearing none, I'll accept those. Just to reiterate, there were no actions taken during that meeting.
So, Mr. Vice Chair, you're just going to need to take a vote. So they didn't have any motion, but they have to vote to accept the minutes.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes as submitted.
Pam, you're on mute.
I'll make a motion to accept as submitted.
Sorry. I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion towards the motion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we have accepted the minutes, and we will move forward to the operating report. Jim, do you want to can you bring that up onto the screen?
So what I'll do is I'll stop sharing and I'll give it over to you, Staffy, to take over to share the operating report.
Perfect. Everybody see that?
Yep.
Produce it. All right. So from a budget perspective, overall, the our revenue has been up for the month, been up year to date. And that from the revenue components, it's on monthly parking, we're seeing gains, or we did see gains at Webster, Main Lot, and East Norwalk, and that was offset even more really by the South Norwalk Railroad Station, Maritime Garage, Yankee Doodle, which were under budget. So monthly was a little bit off, but those were the components and where they shaped out. On the transient side, increases we saw were mainly at the South Norwalk Railroad Station and the overflow lot there, and that was offset by some underperformance at Webster in terms of transient, but overall that was favorable. From the meter side, that was over budget. Violations was also over budget. And from the expense side, compared to budget, we're basically right on. I think it may have been a hair over, about fraction of a percent, 0.7%. But year to date, we were under budget. Now compared to last year, our total revenue year to date was up a little over 3% above last year. And that came from really all of the revenue components except for violation. Violation revenue was actually down compared to last year, a little over $100,000. So monthly transient meters, they were all up compared to last year, year to date. Expenses were slightly higher, a little over 2% higher than last year. Well, I'm sorry, I gotta move this too. And now we can move into the variance report. Got a little better.
Yes, much better.
That are optically challenged. And so from a parking violation standpoint, we had an interesting thing, happen here. Violation revenue was up over budget, but our citation issuance was actually lower than we had budgeted. When we drilled down into it, we were lower in issuance, but we were higher in revenue because what we actually collected, the average ticket collection was about $43 versus what we had budgeted at the time, which was $35. So with citation issuance lower, but if you combine that with if you look at the P&L when we get to the next page, with meter revenue being up, and that was about 6% up overall. That suggests to us that compliance was actually a little higher, which has been the overall goal, of the operation, was to, and I think Jim could attest to this, that we really want revenue to be increased at the meters and not through violations. So that was an interesting piece to it, because
So Rocky, I'm sorry, Staffy, sorry. If the average ticket price was up, does that mean that what we saw was an increase in the safety violations issued versus the meter expired violations?
could have been part of that. It could have been that maybe people paid later too, so fines and penalties added more.
Okay, late fees, yes, okay.
Yeah, so we could probably.
Stathi, sorry, Judd has his hand up. I just want to make sure that we recognize Judd.
Yeah, Jim asked my question, so.
Okay, fair enough. And
Yeah.
Stathi, one more quick question. When you budget for violation revenue collected on average, can you talk a little bit about what goes into that number? The only reason I ask is if it's over, you just mentioned that delays may contribute to the increase in collections, but is it also that more people are paying more people are paying their tickets in general, like the collection volume is up?
Well, the collection rate is one of those, not tricky, but it's a moving target all the time. So depending, on how you define the collection rate, it's always a changing number. So the longer period you pull back from, your collection rate could be higher, because there's always going to be people that are paying late, and then that goes into the formula. But to answer your question about the budget process, yeah, what we do is, and it's not an exact science, we look at some historical numbers, we look at the trends, and then we try to adjust month to month, based on kind of what we think is going to happen looking at the future. There's some, coming out of COVID, there were some interesting kind of, developments too, that have changed people's habits too, which is why pay by cell, for example, was a lot more popular, because people were trying to, get away from touching equipment. So all of those touchless options were more in demand, and the more of those you have, that means there's more credit card payments, and when people start paying by credit card versus cash, it kind of turns the gambler into the insurance buyer. That's why the average transaction is much higher from credit cards, transactions than cash transactions. So I hope that answered some of it, and we can drill down into some of the the other things you had asked about too, Matt, if you want.
So,
Okay, we keep going.
so Matt, I do think your question is great. And I think one that Staffy, I think we should look at an aging report. We've been talking to the authority in past about, amnesty program. But I think, as we look at that, we should, I think there is an important number to look at, what in the aging report, we offer an incentive to someone for a payment reduction if they make it within the first day, right? So I think that we should be also providing, that initial aging report to the board showing, what percentage of the citations were done with a reduced fee? Because I think, Matt, to your point, we do anticipate that there's going to be some percentage of people, and they might that number might be greater than we anticipated. Other numbers might be times greater. But so it's that. It's also then what's paying on time, and then the late payments. But I think that would be helpful to the board to look at an aging report, particularly since we're going to be presenting an option for an amnesty program in short order. So
Right.
we can get that information for you guys.
So so I'll make a note here. We can look at kind of citations, payment data, the windshield rate, maybe how much is paid off each notice, because our noticing, we have typically 3 notices. I know that in 2020, our windshield rate was about, or 19 or 20, was about 50%. And then as you get into the first and second notices, it dropped. I want to say it was in 30%. Second notice was maybe 25%. And then the third notice was really more of the booting and all that, and that compliance was like 82% or something. But we can, we'll get that report updated, and then we can provide that. That would be interesting for you to see.
Thank you.
So moving on to the variance report, or continuing on with it. So security services. Let me just pull something else up here. Okay, so security services was over budget, and that was this was one of those allocated expenses that we're going to fix during the budget process. That was straight lined, and we need to build in these quarterly payments. So that was on the security camera system. The equipment expense variance, that again had to do with the vehicle costs. I don't have anything to share with you on that. If Rocky were here, maybe we'd have some of that, but I'm sorry, I don't have it. On the service contracts, that again, there's some quarterly payments that were in there to some of the vendors, Amano, Otis, G-Techno, and then there were a bunch of invoices that Rocky had held over because he was reviewing and clarifying some of those with Calais. So those got adjusted in certain ways, and then those were all paid. There was about 7 of them. That note that I had here is actually in the wrong spot there. It was 7 Calais invoices. So that's where that came from. And then on the,
Stothy, I hear a lot of invoices. Are these contractual? Like, do we have an existing contract with Calais or an existing contract with Otis?
yeah, so Calais is the provider of the multi-space meters. So those are for them. So that, yeah, it's contractual. THA is the consultant that's doing work on Yankee Doodle, and Otis is contractual payments for the elevator maintenance. The Amano one is also contractual. G-Techno is contractual as well for the permit and enforcement systems. And the
Okay.
Amano is for the garages, the Maritime Garage and the South Norwalk Garage.
I mean, obviously my concern is where we are year to date in comparison to budget, right? And I'm trying to reference back to the forecast where we anticipated to be, but
Yeah.
So Matt, if I can, so earlier on, we worked with the board on 2 decision points with bringing THA on board for 2 things that were not initially anticipated, and that was like the design of or redesign of the Yankee Doodle garage being paid for out of what we had anticipated is revenue, but also we saw some additional work that was coming from the Haviland parking deck for the signage and the staircase that would go up to the deck. It also led to some of the concrete work that was a challenge that we had. So I think we're just kind of getting ahead of where we saw some anticipated revenue to take advantage of that. But those were things that were not necessarily planned for, but that had been discussed in earlier meetings. So THA is going to be new. I think the Calais ones are, just the typical ones that would normally hit, I think, but we're seeing the largest increases were from, added benefits that I think we voted on in earlier days.
okay, thanks, Jim.
All right, and snow removal. Fortunately, we didn't have any snow to worry about. And signage was the down payment on the entrance signage at South Norwalk and East Norwalk. And then the utilities, that was actually a question that we were looking at with Jim and the team. And the usage was definitely up. It was gas, and this was another expense. Again, I hate to keep going back to it, that I think we'll just need to do a better job in the budget process of trying to budget it more seasonally to see the use. So I pulled up some utility bills to make the comparison, and the gas bill at Maritime, it's through Eversource. There was a supply rate increase of about 36% since a year ago. It went from 0.717 cents to 0.979 cents. So that there was an increase, but there was also an increase in usage as well. So when you look at the Eversource bill, you can see how actually I can share it. Hold on a second.
While you do that, Stathi, Judd, your hands up.
There we go. Oh,
Can you tell me a little more about this signage? I'm drawing a blank on that.
Judd, I was gonna chime in before you, when I saw your hand was raised, that I also thought that we owed you guys an explanation of the signage, because this was the entrance signage that we voted on some time ago to put at the entrance of the East Norwalk train station, the South Norwalk train station. And it just took a while for James to acquire 3 bids on that one. So this was one that we talked about some time ago. We didn't allocate the money because we didn't know what the bids were going to come back like. But they came back, this was one, but this is going to be we showed you some time ago, the standard signs like that Metro North has throughout the rest of the stations along the line. So we got their design, and we're putting those at the East Norwalk train station and the South Norwalk train station on MLK. We'll send you the copy of it just with the design plans or an image just to refresh you, but we had voted on that some time ago. We just couldn't find we approached the DOT on their contractor, who was quite expensive. So it took a while to get some quotes that were what we believed reasonable to move forward with. So that's what that is, but I'll get you a picture of that.
Okay. Thank you.
can you see my screen now? Okay, so I just pulled a few of the bigger bills, but the Maritime Garage, Eversource provides gas, so their supply rate change. First, you can see this graph and you can see the usage. This is December right here, if you can see my cursor, and this is the previous month, so you can see where the usage is the demand is coming from. And then on the rate, this is this rate in this bill, 0.9. You can see that the almost $1.98 per whatever that is, cubic feet of gas, I guess. And then if you compare that to a year ago, it was 0.7174. So that's where that's coming from. Also, South Norwalk, the railway station garage, same thing. Here's the increased usage, month over month. And then there was also electric in there as well. That was for, let's see, electric was for Maritime Garage as well. And you can see that increase, not quite as drastic as the other ones, but so that's what's contributing to this variance. Let me get back to
Peter, are you raising your hand?
Yeah, I'm kind of raising my hand. I just
Yep.
don't understand if the temperature was significantly higher or why the usage would be also higher. I can understand the price for the gas. Maybe I'm just not following something.
in which month?
It was last month in the gas in the South Norwalk train station. It seemed like the usage was up significantly,
Let me
but
go back, Peter.
I think we had those really frigid days that when the temperature dropped. So I think we had some days that were above, certainly, but then when they were below, they were very below. And so when they're very below, they're just on nonstop because the doors are constantly open.
right. So I'm looking at, so I guess maybe it was only degree. I thought it's hard to read the average temperature at the bottom of the chart. But it was maybe a degree warmer, but the usage was up by 53%. So I was just making an observation.
Yeah, I mean, Jim has a point though with the Maritime Garage, when there is more activity or there's more going on at the aquarium, from that lobby, sliding door opens, it's like a wind tunnel in there. So that could be part of it too. I'm not exactly sure, but that's what I suppose.
Well, Staffy, I also, or we identified an issue with the HVAC system, right? We're gonna be looking at that. James told me on his exit interview that,
Yeah.
one of the, so we also might be having older equipment there, Peter, that we're gonna be taking a look at. And looking at, some type of upgrade. I think we don't have the most efficient systems in that facility.
Sounds good.
Okay, back here. So here's the full financial statement. You want me to zoom into any section? I can. The highlighted, I guess for Peter's benefit, the highlighted lines are the ones that we covered in the variance report.
I have a hard copy.
You do? Okay. Are there any questions with any of this? Okay, sensing none. We'll move on to the pre-COVID analysis. And this in James's honor, we're referring to as the Emery report now. So the Emery report is showing that compared to January of last year, our revenue down a little over 11%, but expenses are down even more, 17%. And this is just the breakdown from the revenue side and expense side. Moving on to system activity. The overall, the system-wide activity year to date is a little bit below pre-COVID levels, and revenue is a little further off pre-COVID, about 9%. And then permit sales are still steady, but we're still at 23% below pre-COVID levels. That's the brown line here. On street, the year-to-date activity is up about 4.6% compared to last year. And that's down about a little over 13% compared to pre-COVID level. I know it's hard to see on this graph, and maybe I need to cut out the pre-COVID or the COVID months, because it makes the numbers on the side here so close that it looks like they're on top of each other. So if it's okay with you, I'm going to probably start it at 20,000, around there next month. So that way you can see a little more of the lines better in the variation.
Sounds like a good idea.
And on the enforcement side, citation revenue is down compared to last month. And it's also down compared to last year to date, about 13.5%. Now moving on to the JUD report. So we're happy to say now we have 2 JUD reports. We've got this one and we've got a second one on the next page. So on this one, there was a little uptick in the ratio of tickets issued to demands, shown right over here, but it's still below last year, which is good. There's always going to be fluctuations from month to month, but so if anybody has a question on this, we can answer it. Otherwise, we'll show the new report that Rocky put together that is basically this report, but broken down by street, and it's in a table form instead, because we couldn't put this onto a graph. So again, this is the exact same report, but it's focused by street, and it's even narrowed down even more to just expired meter violations. So it's not everything like in the previous report.
Hey,
So-
Stothy,
Yes,
thank you and Rocky for putting this together. I just had two questions right off the top. Haviland Street, does that include the lot? And where is the Webster Street lot included in this? And if so, where?
it's not. This is just on the street. So Haviland Street is literally the street.
Yep. Okay.
So we can add those. I think we can certainly do that and add it to the list. One other thing I will note before any comments is that if you look down at the bottom where my cursor is, the Wall Street area. So all of Wall Street was under one zone number in the past. And we just changed the zone numbers by street and block face. So next month, or as we go forward, this will be split up, and you'll see additional streets here and zone numbers. So you can see this information in a little more detail. So again, so this is actually from the current years from September. So Rocky ran this from September through January. Whoops. So it's the same time period for all of them.
Great. Stothy, just one quick second. Pam has her hand up. I'd like to recognize her.
Yes, Pam.
So this is on-street parking, which is great. What about the garages? Could you do something similar to this with the garages so we could see what's going on in each location?
Absolutely. So we can do that, except for the Maritime Garage and the railroad station, because those are gated facilities. So there's really no enforcement in there, unless somebody's maybe in a handicap spot or something like that. But yes, we could do that because Haviland is, not gated. Yankee Doodle is not gated. But we can add that if that's what you want.
So
Yeah,
why don't we,
and the Haviland deck.
The Haviland deck, yes.
so why don't we add Haviland, Webster, and the Yankee Doodle Garage, since those are the only other three facilities?
And North Water Street lot, which is very popular.
You're right, good, yep. I
Yeah.
stand corrected.
We'll add every off-street facility that we have in Fort, other than those two that I just mentioned.
Yes,
Great, thank you.
anyone where there would be an expired meter violation.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, so we'll add that to the Judd 2 report.
Thanks. And thank you, Rock and Staffi, for putting this all together. It's
Really, I would love to take credit, but it's really Rocky. He's the one who drilled down to all this information and knows it better than anybody. So,
all right. Good job, Rocky.
and then on the pay by cell, obviously this has been a great program, and you can see it in the graphs. You can see it graphically. One interesting thing I added, which I didn't add before, was really the percent, because we've been seeing such an increase, the percent of transactions that pay by cell is a part of the system. So compared to total system demands, pay by cell transactions now represent 23, almost 24%. And that's amazing. I think what we'll do maybe next time is share a comparison of, because I did this like kind of late, so we'll see if we can't pull that up and see where it's gone. And revenue, is almost 12%. is the end of our report. Unless there's additional questions.
I think when we look at that last cell, the pay by cell, seeing it increase nearly, a very significant increase in the bar chart over time is great. I think it speaks to where we're seeing more people want to have touchless options and, just the convenience of it. So I think I think that's when we talked about, how we want to do more, promotions to move more people to it and kind of change it. It kind of speaks to reason why. So I think it's been great.
Agreed.
Great. Thank you, Stathi. Appreciate it.
All right.
Unless I hear any further questions, we'll move to our next point of business, which is our engineering and project report.
Sure. Stafi, could you stop sharing so I could take back over and give them the agenda?
Yeah, I just did, hopefully.
Yep. Okay, just wanted to get it back up for you guys. So the engineering and project report. So one was that we hit on earlier with THA. So we're contracting with THA for the improvements to the Haviland parking deck, which was the signage that was at the front, the staircase design that we talked about when we were in the construction of the Haviland, the Webster lot, and securing a little additional funding to make that happen. So and then that led into the concrete work that looks like it was required after that's not been done for some time. And if we're making these other improvements, look to combine it together. So that continues to move forward, and they're combining both. They have not provided the construction estimates yet, but it is still just a work in progress. This will stay on the reports until we have it for the next time. The Yankee Doodle Garage facade enhancement. We had our weekly meeting with THA again today. The project continues to advance. We will be at 50% design by next week. And we are looking for 100% design documents delivered to us in April. We'll do a final review of those and then put them out to bid so that we start the construction this year. So we're excited about that. We did we spent several days here with them looking over the engineering of what it's going to take to cut the ribs off the paint, the plaza area, working through that, meeting the things. I think what we'll do is when we finish the 100% design, we'll just go back out. When we do the bid, we'll just do a meeting with the Wall Street Neighborhood Association, show the final one, keeping that up to date. So I think this is the commitment to us for the Wall Street area that will look at making those improvements. So I think the rate in which we are going from no plan at all for the Yankee Doodle garage, right, to finding someone to then designing it to actually getting construction documents is pretty rapid, right? To be where we were and nowhere, right? And then talking about we will be in construction this year with the facility is pretty amazing. So more on that. This will stay on there until that goes. Is there any questions on either of those? Pam, you're on mute. Oh, I thought
No,
Oh,
no
I-
questions.
oh, you moved forward. I thought that was a question. Sorry.
No, I need new glasses.
Okay. All right.
All right. Thanks,
Want me
Jim. That's very exciting. So
Want me to
we'll
continue
move
on into new business?
Yes,
Okay.
please.
So new business, I wanted to put an item on here for discussion. And that item is the back-in angle parking on Wall Street and on River Street. This is, so when we did the Wall Street meetings, we heard this time and time again, the frustration with the back-in angle parking. So in our final design of Wall Street, we had always anticipated that we would be removing the back-in angle parking and replacing it with just traditional parallel parking. And we were going to do that with the project. However, this is about half of all of the citation hearings that come into us has to do with a back-in angle parking. It is probably the single most point of frustration with folks. And I've had a conversation with some of the restaurateurs about the frustration, and talked about, look, and I feel bad saying some people are just thinking they're doing the right thing. They can't figure it out. There's a number of things. I said, I think the only way to really resolve this is we were always going to remove it as part of the plan. Let me address it with the parking authority, and maybe, so my thought was we would address with the parking authority favor, we would go to the traffic authority, and we would then remove the reverse in angle parking to replace it today with the parallel parking. And but guys, I just have to tell you, and I think Staffy and Rocky could attest to this for the citation hearings. This was one of James' items. Half of the people who are contesting parking tickets are related to one issue. And I think that we need to just bite the bullet and do it ahead of time. So this was a discussion item for you. So I'm not looking for a vote. We would put for a vote for the next one. But just looking to kind of gauge your temperature with this one now, if you would like to continue this as an item. Judd?
Yeah, Judd?
Yeah. How far out are we with the overall design, bidding, and construction of the new Wall Street, I'll call it?
So, we have this in phases. So the first phase is the east wall section between Brooks and Main. So that is, we finished 100% design. We answered the last of the comments for WestCog. That means the application then goes up to DOT for a notice to proceed on the funding. So our anticipation of that, since we do hound these guys pretty heavily, is that we would get this back sometime this year. And that we would start that construction then. We are 30% design for the Greater Wall Street corridor. We're anticipating the next community meeting to be in the April timeframe. But the reality is that the construction for that will not occur until 2024, begin until 2024. So I think we are a year out from where that could start. That's a little bit of a larger, so we have a much larger application. So I think DOT will be a little bit more critical in the review of that one. So we're anticipating a little bit longer of a time because it's much more complex in its nature.
Mm-hmm.
But again, sometime next year. So I think we either say that we'll sign up for a year of more customer complaints about parking, or we change it at a time, because we're going to change it anyway.
If you take it out now, so to speak, particularly on Wall Street, when it was taken out, it pretty much removed a lane of traffic in front of the Globe Theater. And while traffic speeds are still too high there, I think it did do something to slow it down. What would we do with that extra space, having it back? Are we just going to put in an extra traffic lane again, or?
I think we could look at that. We didn't come up with a design. So what I could do is we could look at, I'll give this to our transportation planner who designed something. We would do it with pavement markings, whether we would create a center island or something in the interim that we have. I agree with you. It's just the road is horrible. It's just a really wide road. Which is why I wanted to work on it, right?
But also, I mean, have you considered nose in, I'll call it, front end angled parking? I mean, you can find that down in Greenwich and Stamford, and from, my limited experience with it, it works better. People understand it better.
I think people understand it better, but there are some safety concerns with that. It is not when going forward in traffic design manuals now, it was moved into a reverse in angle parking. I could tell you that in Stamford, that was my own town, right? So like it was a challenge. It's a challenge getting out. Like you can't see to get out. I think it is a different little bit of an animal, where in Stamford, they have 2 lanes on Bedford, right? So cars can have the opportunity to get into another one where they don't have that here. It was a constant issue in Stamford, and it was not a recommended practice, but it was just one that was in place for a long time. But from a new design manual, that's not typically where we go.
Okay.
Peter?
Yeah, if, I know that they have a raised crosswalk, say, in the center of Washington Street, which really gets people to slow down. And I know in the long-term plan, you're thinking about doing that on various parts of Wall Street. Would there be maybe a way to put one of those in front of the Globe Theater that would be in the middle of all this speeding?
So, we've already submitted budget, so that we didn't include that as a budget item for the 23-24 capital program. And I don't know that we would get council approval to install something only to rip it out next year.
Okay.
So I think we could look at what other opportunities we have, but our budget did get, we did get slashed in our budget pretty bad.
Right, but I was just, if you were saying to put maybe a temporary island in the center of Wall Street.
A painted island. We were doing it with paint, not
Oh, paint, gotcha. I understand. Okay.
Um,
So just trying to, you're absolutely right. I mean, even if people walk at that crosswalk, I'll tell them to look both ways before they go, because they come down way too fast.
Yeah, which becomes even much more of a challenge when you do if you did front end angle parking, right? You're going out, at a vehicle when we know that speeds are higher than we would like.
Yeah, and even if it wasn't pavers, which is the nice way to make it look, even if it was just asphalt. I agree that people got to slow down there.
No, and I think in our long term, we're looking at raised crosswalks throughout the corridor to address the issue. And I don't think that we have an ideal plan in place now. I'm just bringing an issue to you because, the people who are getting tickets, I feel for it. Like they just, there are some, it's from a number of different things. It's just like, I didn't know, and they said, like, I didn't see the sign, but I don't know how many more signs we can put up without like.
Yeah, it's people from other areas. A lot, at least that's what I hear from my customers and so forth, is they're just not familiar with it. They're from another town. They've never seen it before. There's all, like you're saying, there's all different scenarios that go on. But the fact of the matter is, it leaves them with a real bad taste in their mouth. And
Yeah.
I agree, to get rid of it sooner than later I'd be all for it.
Yeah, there was BJ's BJ Ryan that brought it up to me, and he just said, this is this is the only issue I have, right? And I said, well, look, and I can bring it in front of the thing, and he offered to speak to the board. I said, let me just do it as a discussion item, and we'll see where it goes. But
yeah, I park in Yankee Doodle, as you probably know, every day, so I see it all the time, and it's really bad. So anyway, I'm with you.
Okay.
Jim, I brought this up with city staff long before you were here, but that light at Isaac, if that became a blinking red light, which acts as a stop sign, that would go a long way towards slowing traffic down. I know there are potential issues with stop signs, maybe possibly more rear end hits and things like that. But if that were and you could do a test period of a week, see how it goes, extend it to a month before you took the parking out. That if everybody had to stop at Isaac, that would really put a damper on Wall Street. So,
All right, but the issue is either lights or signs aren't traffic control measures, right? They aren't designed to that. And, every signal has to have approval from the state of Connecticut. And, they're just, truthfully, that signal doesn't even meet warrant to be where it is. And the long-term plan of it is, it goes away. But, if you have a stop sign, and we don't put stop signs up as traffic calming measures because, if you put a stop sign up, it is not long before somebody realizes that it's not necessary to do it. And you do a rolling stop and you go through and as a pedestrian, you're anticipating someone to stop and then they don't. And then, it also devalues every other stop sign that is there for a legitimate reason. And every complaint that we have for stop signs or compliance on stop signs are really at locations where they don't meet warrants. And we put them in for the wrong reason. And I firmly believe that there's reasons that we have to do our job. And that's one of them that,
Well, even one of those stoplights like they have in, I guess it's Marvin Beach School, that goes red every 30 seconds or whatever it happens to be.
yeah, if somebody,
has
well, it's if they're speeding, my understanding is there's a speed camera or something tied to that on Beach Road.
no.
No? Okay, it must be
An
every
old
30
wives' tale.
I thought, okay, then it must be every, 30 seconds or a minute, it goes red, because I ride my bike down there a fair amount, and there's no cars, nothing's happening, and it's quite on a rapid cycle, so,
Marvin School. I will have Fred check that out.
okay.
It very well may be, a fault in the system that no one's just ever notified us, right? So.
Oh, I think it seems like it's by design and it works.
Yeah, it does.
It slows people down.
Slows the traffic, so. All right,
Well,
we'll think about it all, right?
thanks, Judd.
Yep.
Yep. Thanks, Peter, as well. Jim, I'll just say, when you say that the vast majority of violations are related to this parking, and hearing Peter and Judd as well, it's just telling. I think it makes the most sense just to pivot. And parallel seems to make the most sense.
All right, so we'll come through with a plan. We'll keep it on the agenda and actually show concept for you for next month, right?
Sounds good.
So the next one is the park mobile payment minimum. I think it was a year and a half ago or so, we opted, we really looked at analysis of, the credit card charges as it related to people paying at the credit card, and we opted to make it a $1 minimum for use of a credit card, because by the time people were using lower a quarter, 50 cents on your credit card, and we are paying, if somebody uses a quarter on a credit card, we're paying like 22% or 22 cents on that. And you could be even more if they have rewards, right? We pay for all those rewards that people have on their cards, right? We did not make that change to Park Mobile, right? So we still have people putting 25 cents on the Park Mobile card, right? And we pay the credit card charge because we are the merchant of record for Park Mobile, right? So we are paying, on those, 25, 50-cent transactions, we're paying an exorbitant fee to process a credit card. And I think, I wanted to put in front of you the $1 minimum for Park Mobile to move it forward, because otherwise we continue just to hemorrhage money on these types of transactions, particularly when we're seeing, Park Mobile, higher, we saw it before, the amount of uses Park Mobile continues to climb. I think when we looked at the average ticket price, the average transaction is higher. It is going up to like $1. I think it's $1.86 now, right? So we do have people using it, but like $1, so they use it for really good amounts, but they're also offsetting those people who don't, who use it for 25 cents, who use it for 50 cents, is costing the system, a larger fee. So wanted to have a discussion. We don't, I have it as a discussion item because it's the first item from you. We would put it for, if you want anything, we could provide any additional information, but we would put it for a vote for next month. But wanted to have that just open discussion about that because we never changed Park Mobile. We did change a credit card and we stopped a little bit of that bleeding. But we didn't do it with the Park Mobile. So is this something you would like us to pursue?
From my perspective, I'll say you've heard me in the past couple of months. I'm focused on banking, ATM or banking and transaction fees in general. Yeah. Just because that's an item that has the proclivity to creep into our revenue numbers. I think so long as we offer the opportunity for folks to use cash at a pay station, that charging a minimum for a credit card transaction, especially in the areas where the minimum price is that low, seems to make sense.
Yeah, I think, I agree. I think it's just, it's a hard one to balance, but, it is also, a hard one to, I think you get it, but where that creeping up, right? Because it doesn't really affect that revenue line. It affects our expenses line, right? And those expenses are just occurring in that natural thing. So, they start to really creep up on you. And I think what we've been spending a greater amount of time looking at is really analyzing, the corridors that we're not performing well with certain modes of payment, and looking at ones that are purely Park Mobile or how the beach goes, and really individually looking at meters versus pay stations and all that to kind of combat that thing, because it can be one that does type of creep up in you if you don't look at it. And we're starting to look at it a little bit more on that granular level to get us there. So we can keep this item on and we can move it forward for a vote for next month. All right.
All right.
The next one, wanted to talk to you. So I think this kind of goes a little bit more to when we did the holiday celebrations, both in Sono and in Wall Street. I will digress for 2 seconds. And we had, Jessica ran a business roundtable today in the community room of City Hall. It was like 44 people in attendance for the very first community for business roundtable. I thought it was really, really great. It was, so businesses really weighed in on a lot of different things, and it was really great dialogue that was back. But someone stood up and took notice of that, and wanted to voice their appreciation of, the holiday extravaganza that Laz put on in Wall Street and in Sono as something that we should mimic and we should do more of. And so I think we got a little, it's months later and we're still getting a little positive press from this. So that was just a little side gig to work. We talked then about how we can continue better means of engagement throughout the course of the year. Right. So we have Snyder really working, a media, we were really hyping them on looking at our social media, getting a post out there, really addressing some of the things. We did it with the bike station at Sono. We got press from it. That was moved through the city social media realm as well. We had 2 reporters there. I think it was really great story. we wanted to, so we want to continue on that. So wanted to let you guys know and also invite you to participate with us on March 17th at Soto train station. We will be handing out green carnations and, that you could, as a boutonniere for, the people who are coming through, right? Any leftover will hit the street, get people on the street, but just a little, thank you for their, like people are coming through and want to just kind of like change that perception, get somebody just to get a little smile. So if we would love for you to come and join us, and we will pass that information on as it comes more, but you'll get a little boutonniere, a little green boutonniere to celebrate St. Patty's Day. So I think, there are little things that don't add up to, don't cost us a lot, but I think we'll get a lot of goodwill. And I think if by that time, in March, we'll be able to start looking at what the new area looks like. Judd, you had a question?
So you're gonna have a table set up there or something, or?
Well, we were just gonna have people, there could be a table, let's go, but we really want to have where the parking ambassadors, the last folks really are engaging people who are on the platform, who are, in the lobby waiting on both the New Haven and New York bound side of the station. And then just give them, and then if we have any more after the morning rush hour commute, maybe we hit the street and we kind of get a few people, surprise a few people on the street. But I think we want to try to make the experience at the train station. Look, we went from a time where we had an 800 person wait list, right, to not that 800 person wait list, right? And I think we want to continue to work at ways to engage people at the station. It's you're coming or going to Norwalk. It's first and last impressions are always the most important, right? So at the train station, we thought was really a key place to be there. To send that out, and it's our opportunity to get a lot of people at one time. We were at the station the other day for when we were at the press announcement. We went and did a little tour, and just the amount of people that were there in the station waiting midday was pretty astronomical. So we're seeing them merge. So we want to emerge them to the station with a little fun Norwalk green carnation.
Okay, good.
So that was more of an item. We will send that out to you for the times that we'll be there. So we're working on that now. So very cool, right? I'll move on to old business, Vice Chair, if that's fine with you. So this is a discussion. This is just the continued item that remains on here. We talked about the parking pay stations for the free 15-minute option. Peter, just to update you, I think James may have already updated you, but so a bit of older history is, we were alerted by the cell phone providers that they were no longer supporting 2G and 3G connections. Those are what our old meters were running on. We use this as an opportunity to upgrade to the parking pay stations. We're upgrading the technology because we were also making this larger investment. I had a conversation with Calais, the maker of this, and they have designed software that is going to be unique to Norwalk. It's this is going to be the first, so we'll have another Norwalk first under our belts here, and that is. You'll be able to use any of the parking pay stations to give you a 15-minute parking option. So you would just go, rather than sign a space that says 15-minute all day long, every space could be 15 minutes. You just go up to the pay station, click 15 minutes, enter your plate number. You could also enter a text number, and it will text you when your time has expired. But this goes, for the authority, for most of them, the 15-minute spaces, as you know, just are horrible for us to manage. We are in a no-win situation with any of these. We get constant. I got a complaint today at the business, that a restaurateur, he's like, the spaces are, no one's using them, and my people use them, and then they get a ticket. because they're there as a 15-minute option and, you know, they're not. So I did talk to him about that. And he was like, that would, you know, he was very in support of this. So, that issue is we've been fighting the supply chain issues with this, as well as we're putting a halo on each of them to highlight where they are. Sarak, have you gotten an update? Did they give you an update on delivery yet? I know that.
Yes, yep, I got that. We're pushing for earlier delivery, but they're saying the end of March. And just a reminder, we've got 29 new units that are coming. Those are Halo. And then we have 26 that are just the Halo parts for the upgrades on.
Your connection is bad there. I can't hear you.
Yeah,
Oh, it is?
I'd like to.
You hear me
In and out.
now? I'm sorry.
Okay.
How about
Maybe if you go off video, because you sound very packed. You're frozen right now too, so I don't know.
Oh.
Yes, Judd?
Yep, so this is, all the existing pay stations are getting upgrades?
Yes. So we'll all have the same technology. They'll be able to offer that to everyone.
And this is in the surface lots and the Yankee Doodle also, I guess? That would be, and the Wall Street.
Well, I don't know. I wasn't in the lots. I don't know what you would be able, where you'd be able to go in 15 minutes, right? Because they're not, you know, that's kind of a little bit of a thing. This was just, this was the intent of this, the on-street ones.
Okay,
Yeah.
Did
if
you
I
have your
could-
hand up as well?
Peter's got a question, I think.
Yeah, I just had a question. You know, I just see some confusion. I go into South Norwalk and park in Haviland and go out for a bite often on a weekend. And I know how to use the pay stations. I do see some frustration with the pay stations. I certainly wish it was simpler. You know, it's just, I just see people shrugging their shoulders and so forth. Just something I'll bring up, and I'm a newbie to, I really appreciate being on the parking authority. My son lives in Boise, Idaho, and that's a long way away, but they have something that seems so simple. And I think things need to be simple. And again, I'm a newbie, so I really don't want to step on toes here. They've got meters, and they've got a button on the meter. You push the button and you get free 15 minutes. And that's as simple as that. And then if you want to stay longer, you pay and you stay longer. I don't know too much about parking at this point. Like I said, I'm a newbie, but whatever it is, simple would be great.
So there'll be two options. You go up to it, free 15-minute or start your parking time. And you'll have the opportunity right from there to hit. So you'll just you put your you have two. You'll go into the beat machine. Staffy, you have two sessions going and you're creating feedback. So sorry about that. So the machine will have two. There'll be two. You'll go up to the machine. There'll be two screens. 15-minute parking session, start your parking session. You could do 15-minute, enter your plate, go. You could enter your plate and also enter your phone number if you want. You don't have to. And in the machine, and it will text you, and you'll be able to expand your parking time right from your mobile phone, right? Or you could just say, like, look, I'm going out to dinner. I don't want to deal with this. I'm just going to start my parking session right now. So you'll have just those two options. So we are trying to work it as simple as possible. So I hear you, Peter. Simple is always better.
Thanks.
You hear me now, Jim?
Now you're better, yes.
Okay, sorry about that. So to answer your question, we're trying to push for earlier delivery, but it's right now scheduled for the end of March. And as a reminder, we've got 29 new units that are coming with the Halo light on the top, and there's 26 just Halos for the existing units we have that we're upgrading.
So just to keep the parking authority board on notice, so we were notified last year that they were going to be sunset at the beginning of this year. We have been in contact with the providers to extend it as long as possible. We have taken, Rocky has taken proactive measures, really looking at the ones that had the oldest communication technology and start changing those to somewhat we had in spares. Really looking at moving some that had, not a lot of credit card usage so that we could minimize our exposure. But this is bad news for us, right? Like these supply chain issues are creating a problem, but we're on borrowed time at this. So we are very anxious to get these new meters in, because if AT&T pulls the plug, we don't have any transactions being processed, right? They'll hold in memory. We'll have to go to a card. It's going to be an awful lot of work for us. Or not, well, for Laz to do, but we continue to work with the Calais on a regular basis to get them here. As Staffy alluded to, we continue to hound them on a daily basis, but we will continue to do that. But just wanted to update you on that one.
But end of March is not that far away.
No, but every day when they said that they were going to stop it in early 2023,
Okay.
we're very nervous every day that they're not going to work. So that was on that one. So now we have the pay station delivery, right? So that was been updated. So we simultaneously got that one there. Then Judd, you had asked for the Wall Street signage data discussion. So I think let me see if I can find, so I had it with James, but let me see if I could get it up. 1 second. Let me just stop this for a second. Let me just, I have the results, but let me see if James was going to join because he also wanted to say goodbye to you all. But I guess he didn't make it, but he was gonna deliver this because he was a little excited, but let me see if he left it for me. Sorry. Judd, I'll send, I can't find it handy, so I apologize. He was supposed to have put that into a folder for me, but he was also talking about joining to deliver that. So we actually saw a decrease in in meter violations. We looked at Wall Street and Main Street because that's obviously where the most of them occur. So we looked at the 3 months with the new signage. And we had a decrease in meter violations for those two streets, but also we looked at your concern of if someone going to be maxing out the time, and the average time was under 2 hours. So I think what that says is we're satisfying people who need to be parking for a longer period of time. But people are understanding it, a little bit more. I think it's a little bit more clearer. We will make, we will continue to I did have a conversation with BJ about the signage. I think BJ was in support of the signage. I think BJ's only concern at this point in time is the angle parking. But so the reality is we didn't, we're not seeing an increase of the ticket issuance, and we're not seeing people really taking advantage of that thing. So it looks like we have really good news to report to kind of clarify the parking system. 2 to 3 hours was somewhat confusing for folks. All right, and then unfortunately, as to do that, I took away the agenda. So let me bring the agenda back up. And then the last item that we had on the item for your update, the continue of old business was the coffee shop lease. So we moved the coffee shop lease to our legal department. to go through. They were working with the leasee on their legal business name, making sure that it was registered, everything that was in play. So we continue to move forward on that to get the space leased out. Just know that now it's just it's in the hands of the legal department to do their their update of their lease and work their magic. And then as I said to you earlier, the concession area should be done by the time we do the carnations in the middle of March. So we'll be showing off a really beautiful new train station.
Thanks, Jim. It's really exciting.
All right. I think that was it for all of my updates, gentlemen and ladies. Sorry.
Much appreciated. Well, because we got directly into business and we've completed the stated agenda, I did want to give the opportunity for Peter to say a little bit about himself and be welcomed here to the board.
Oh, thanks very much. I'm just really excited. I'm born in Norwalk, raised in Norwalk school systems, St. Thomas in East Norwalk and then Norwalk High. And my dad bought a store in downtown Norwalk in '69. So I've been there ever since. It's a long time. Most of you people aren't even born back then, but it's all good. I love Norwalk. Norwalk is just, I can't say enough about it. So I live in South Norwalk, and I'm just really just excited to be here, and hopefully I can bring some positive effects to the parking authority.
Thanks very much, Peter. I appreciate it.
And I just have to, I'm sorry to cut you off. I know my wife can hear me in the background, so I better count her in. She was a teacher in the Norwalk school system also, and both my boys raised in the Norwalk school system. So again, really excited.
Welcome aboard.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks, Peter.
Thanks very much.
All right. And so at this point, is there any other business to come before the board? Judd?
Yeah. Could we discuss implementing courtesy cards again? Maybe next month we could talk about it, or maybe we do an executive session. I'm not really sure. I think it's been, what, 3-4 months maybe since we stopped staff, or Jim, maybe
Staffy?
Yeah, it was recently. It was I want to say 3 months ago, 2-3 months ago.
Okay, I personally, I would hear good things, and I know every now and then we would get an email of appreciation, of great surprise and happiness. I don't know that we need to go back to the volume that we were doing it at, but I do think it was very good promotion for Norwalk. I'm not aware of any other parking organization that does it, and so if we could put that on the agenda next
We will
month.
put that on the agenda for next month. I will write the new one tonight before I leave here.
Okay, that's it.
And
Thank you.
Jim, was there anything that when I was in and out of my that maybe I missed? I know on the pay stations, we covered that, right?
Yeah, we got it. We got the pay stations. That was the delivery option. I think we're all up to date.
Okay, yeah, and the St. Patrick's Day, we will have staff. I think it wasn't working then either, but we will have people there, so we'll get a program.
Yeah, so we just need to get word out to the board ahead of time in case anybody wants to join us for the times that we'll be there.
Okay.
All right, so we'll work on that offline.
Jim,
Thank you.
one last thing to potentially throw on
Yep.
a future agenda. Just the grand opening for the Norwalk River Valley Trail. I think Tanner potentially wanted to touch base with us at a future meeting in advance of that.
So, so we have some little construction issues that we're working on. So we've been working it through the designer. I don't have a date that we be open yet. We're still working through some of the challenges.
just something to asterisk in the future, because I know that he did want to just have a chat with the board.
Okay, yep, will do.
Great.
Right.
Any other further business? All right, with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion. I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second,
There's a motion and a second on the floor. Any discussion? All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Thanks very much.
All right, thank you. Welcome, Peter.
thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank
All right.
you.
Good
Good
night.
evening,
Good
everyone.
night.
Good night,
Good
everyone.
night,
everybody.
everybody.
Good night.